Hey guys, Danny Donahue here. I'm here with my friend Ryan Godoy, who is a fellow filmmaker. He's a horror director as well. And we just thought we'd make a couple of videos about some filmmaking topics. We're going to upload another one to his channel, so definitely hop over there and check that out. Yeah, we just figured we'd talk about some film stuff, and I thought, a good first topic might be talking about insecurity as a filmmaker. And as an artist, and just dealing with that and coping with that. I mean, I deal with it all the time with my work, and I feel like it's probably, I've known you for a while. It's safe to say that you probably do as well.
Anybody that I feel like creates something and then puts it out there for the world to see probably deals with it at some level.
It's like an internal, checks and balances thing on some level, which can be healthy because it pushes you to do stuff better the next time or to improve, but it can also be kind of crippling and like, can hold you back. Do you have any ways that you kind of cope with that when you're working on something?
I think what keeps me going is that I want to be good. And even right now when I make something, 99% of the time I'm like, it's not good. And I'll show my friends or I'll show family and they'll be like, oh, that was so cool. And they'll be like, did you like it? Are you happy with it? I'm like, no. And they're like, what's wrong with you? And it's like, so it is a internal checks and balances that keeps you wanting to create something better the next time. How I cope with it, right now, it feels like I just want to be at a certain level. And I know that the only way to get there is by keep making things. And I don't know if the level that I want is achievable. It might be some impossible goal, but the only way to get there is to keep making things because, everybody says it like just make stuff because the first one's not going to be that good.
Yeah.
And then on top of that is sharing things. That's part of the growing process. And that's part of the anxiety or the self-doubt is showing other people.
Sort of embracing the fear of failure and being willing to just
100%. Definitely embracing failure.
One of my favorite things ever is Mystery Science Theater 3000, like the original series of it. For anyone who doesn't know, like the premise of it is basically this guy and these two robots, and they're shot up into space and they're marooned on this satellite by this evil scientist who forces them to watch terrible movies. It's like old B sci-fi movies, just like the worst stuff, some of it. I mean, some of it's not that bad, but some of it's like just these filmmakers who are like just shitting into the open mouth of cinema as an art. Although the people I look up to as filmmakers are people like Steven Spielberg and Sam Raimi and George Miller and whoever else, and they're the people I try to emulate in my own work in some way. I find myself connecting to those like horrible B movies and being like, yeah, but are you kind of like that? Just because like that one time you did that short and you did the lighting and it sucked. It's the sense of self-sabotage where it's just descending. It becomes this like echo chamber in my head.
People that see your work, they haven't spent months thinking about it. They haven't spent weeks like planning it or been on set seeing all the things that went wrong or seeing the shots that got cut.
Totally.
We're seeing all that stuff. And then they just see it for what it is. It's like I still have all this baggage of like everything that was behind the scenes, everything that happened during post-production, pre-production. And it's like I carry all that with me into watching it. And it's like, it's not the exact movie that was in my brain. Where's that movie?
And if you get somebody who is critical about what you made, then it's like, you also have to, I mean, with art, you're putting stuff out there that you're making yourself vulnerable through that art. And so when you get criticism on it, that can be tough and like feeds that echo chamber of self-doubt or can. So there's also this battle of trying to manage that and being able to like take constructive criticism and even unconstructive criticism in stride and try to use that to just inform your next decision, inform your future work, and just try to use it to strengthen you.
I've made a lot of videos, not just horror films. I make corporate videos and other videos and stuff. And it feels like every time you think you're done with a video or you're going to show a client a video or you're going to show some friends a video and you sit there and you watch it and they're watching over your shoulders, and suddenly every little mistake and every little thing just like starts popping up. I'm like, how did I not see this? One insecurity that I have a lot of is I want to grow my network of filmmakers that like want to do this for a living.
Yeah.
And that means like cinematographers and production designers and sound guys and stuff, people that love what they do. And it's so hard for me to reach out to people and try to grow my network or team up with someone like, hey, do you want to shoot my film or do you want to do sound? Because I'm already like self-conscious of the work that I have. One thing that's definitely helped me this year that I've started doing is like, I pretty much came up with this saying for myself, which is like, just send it.
Yeah.
It's kind of Nike-ish, but it's like every time I have like, I'm going to send this guy an Instagram message. I'm going to text this person. I'm going to email this thing. A lot of the time in my past, I have written up something, deleted it, written up something. It's sat in my drafts for weeks.
Yep.
And it's like, every time that I send it, nothing terrible happens. It's like overthinking things hasn't gotten me a lot of good.
No, I feel like it doesn't ever. And like you say, even emails, important emails or even not so important emails, but emails that like, oh, I care about how I come off to this person. I want to make sure that I'm presenting myself well. Mm-hmm. It's write it and rewrite it. And I'll send it tomorrow, save it in drafts, look at it again tomorrow. I'll have my girlfriend read it and be like, do I sound like a moron? I get just wrapped around the axle about stuff like that sometimes and have to go back to just like, no, dude, it's okay. Yeah. It's fine. Just push send and be done with it.
Just send it. So many times this year, my mouse is just hovering over the send button. I go, just send it, just send it, just click. And I walk away and I'm like, and then life goes on and everything's fine.
Well, I'm gonna have to steal that because
just send it. Yeah, seriously. When I've in the past reached out to people to work with them and maybe it doesn't work out like I was expecting or we don't end up working together, that doesn't have to be viewed as a failure. Because a lot of the time in like client work with freelance filmmaking of like corporate kind of stuff, sometimes the client you're working with wants something different than you provide. And it's just like, you don't have to work together. And it always feels like a failure when I can't like, oh, but I just want to make the client happy. They're looking for something else. And it's like mutually beneficial to not work together.
And that's the case for like, you send your script out, people pass on it. That may be a situation where they're just not looking for that subject.
Doesn't mean it's bad.
How many projects have been, that have become amazing pieces of cinema history were passed over initially because people didn't recognize what they were, or people weren't looking for that at the time, or whatever.
Or that person wasn't equipped to make that vision happen. Or
sure,
yeah, so.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily reflect on the quality of the thing. It could be just trying to find the right fit. I was also thinking that, and this is something that I've been trying to work on more and more, and the older I get, the more I find value in it, but it's still a struggle, is being able to say no. When I'm on set and I'm making choices as a director and I'm doing things, creatively, I feel like I'm in a different headspace than I am outside of a film set. And I feel very liberated to make choices, and I feel very decisive, and I feel like I know what I want. And then I get back to my real life and I'm like, oh man, I don't know. And I'll ruminate on like some sort of question or dilemma or whatever for potentially days at a time. There was a Reddit post a few days ago that I responded to because somebody was saying that they were getting their first PA job. And they were like, does anybody have any advice? And like the top comment on there was something that was like, well, never say no. Always be ready to like just get in there and do it kind of a thing, right? Which is very much the mentality that PAs are expected to have, which is like you are there to serve the rest of the crew and do whatever needs to be done. And having been a PA myself for years and years when I first moved to Los Angeles, in retrospect, you should absolutely be able to say no, and you should say no, because there are times when you're actually going to be put in potentially unsafe scenarios. And I have been, and that's, you know, and I responded to it and said as much basically, but like there's producers who have like, I mean, there was one producer once that, you know, was like, I was driving an SUV with like client in it, you know, and they're all riding, the producer and all of them are riding in the SUV, and I'm driving them all around Los Angeles to the hotel and to the location and whatever else. And he was like, you got to go faster. You got to go faster. Like, just cut that guy off. Just go, like floor it. I was so worried about saying no at the time. I was like, man, I'm going to lose my job if I say no, or I don't want to piss anyone off. And so I didn't. So I just tried my best to like do what he said, you know, but it was ultimately just an unsafe choice.
Yeah.
Because it's just driving too fast and driving erratically with other people in the car. There's been other things over the years too, where you're just like standing out in the middle of a road with like no vest and you're like just stopping traffic, which is something the cops should be doing, or you know, whatever else, you know, and I wrote it all in this comment. Because now, looking back, I would 100% say no to that. No PA job is worth taking a risk like that.
It sounds like you're very similar to me in the sense that we don't like conflict.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably why we hate saying no so much, is because no is like you're pushing back on something.
Yep.
That's like what the word no is.
Yep.
You're saying it like creates a little spark of a conflict, whether you like it or not.
But it is important as a filmmaker. It's
very important.
Because you have to stand up for the things that are right for the film.
Yeah. I think the real something a little bit better than maybe just make things, just grab your friends and shoot a film, just keep making things, which is like, it's true when it comes down to it.
Yep.
Every time I do it, I'm like, yeah, that's true. It just doesn't sound fun. I don't know. It just doesn't sound, it's like, don't overthink things. Don't mill over things too long. Don't like get stuck in that purgatory where you're just overthinking how bad the last film you made is, how bad the film you're thinking about is potentially going to be. It's like you can't just paint the coolest thing ever if you've never picked up a paintbrush.
So in essence, it's all about just kind of embracing the fear of failure and understanding that there will be mistakes. There will be things that are imperfect. But, you know, believing that you have the ability to make something good and that you are actively making something good. You just have to keep moving forward and go on to the next thing, and don't let that stuff and you know, the negative voice in your head paralyze you. A lot of times when we feel like we can't do something, it's you holding yourself back more than any other force. You know, it's you being afraid to do it. So yeah, it's because there's also the healthy aspect of it as well, where it's like you need that sort of
keeps you in check.
But,
it's being self-aware. You don't want to be
yeah.
unself-aware.
yeah, absolutely. Because then it's like, I mean, at that point you're done.
Yep.
So
it's over.
Well, thanks for talking with me about it, and thank you guys for watching. And like I say, there's another one of these up on your channel, Ryan. So check out the link in the description, and hopefully we'll make some more of these. I mean, we don't have like a definitive plan for it, but but more stuff coming. So
awesome. Yeah, this was fun.
Yeah, awesome. See you guys.